I hope we can help you with some of your goals for this summer. And thank you for joining us for this edition of Schiller Learnings, Tuesdays at 2. I'm your host, Antoinette LaGrossa. And summer is an excellent time to include activities that you might not otherwise get to do with your child, and to especially get outside. Maria Montessori tells us to follow the child, and summer is a perfect time to start this if you haven't done so previously, or to refocus on this key principle of Montessori. Here is the insight that Dr. Montessori shares with us educators. Follow the child. They will show you what they need to do, what they need to develop in themselves, and what area they need to be challenged in. The aim of the children who persevere in their work with an object is certainly not to, quote, learn. They are drawn to it by the needs of their inner life, which must be recognized and developed by its means. So take some time to reflect on that and enjoy all of the idea light bulbs it inspires to pop up above your head. So what Dr. Montessori means by this is that whenever possible, take the time to just observe your child. Take note of what interests him or her, what they're drawn to, doing or learning, what they feel a need to do. Hint, sometimes these are the things your child does over and over and over again. Plus, what toys are they no longer using, or learning materials? So these observations will be powerful guidance in the formation for not only a school year plan for your child, but an engaging, memorable summer experience as well. Okay, here are some general topics you can use to engage your child this summer and see where their interests in them and their needs take you. First and foremost is to embrace nature. And we're going to take a look at each of these in a bit more detail. So in addition to embracing nature, explore your roots, review basic skills, art and imaginative play, and then learning a new skill. Okay, you'll want to give some thought to how you want to structure or organize your activities for the summer. And this will help make sure that you have the supplies and materials needed, any printables printed, so that they're within reach when needed, especially, at the younger end of the age spectrum. You don't want to have to stop in the middle of something to go gather materials or to print things off. When it comes to assembling materials, encourage your child to do age-appropriate tasks, 3-hole punch and assemble planner pages, or, maybe you'll be studying frog habitat and creating 3-part cards to learn new words. If age appropriate, your child could be the one to be cutting those out or assembling them. If paint is going to be a part of your summer, your child can review the inventory of paint colors to ensure that indeed all the desired colors are there. Resist the temptation to spoon feed your child. Involve them as much as possible in the planning and preparation. Okay, and then first off, go outside. Going to that first area of interest to cover, embrace nature. Maria Montessori encouraged learning from nature and developing a child's senses and coordination. and more through exploring nature. Know, there must be provision for the child to have contact with nature, to understand and appreciate the order, the harmony, and the beauty in nature, that the child may better understand and participate in the marvelous things which civilization creates. So, nature can even help us to understand the world at large and our place in it. Now, weather should not be an excuse, by the way, to keep you from getting outside every day of the year, even in the dead of winter. And it certainly isn't an excuse in summer, even if it's raining. Summer is perfect for making the great outdoors your child's domain. Whether you're in your own backyard, the local park, or even a national park, go outside. Take nature walks together. Stop, take notice of your surroundings, and take time to talk about what you see, what you hear, what you smell, how things feel. Start a nature journal to create drawings of things that you find in nature and notes about things that are most enjoyed and about the thoughts that you may encounter while you're out in nature. In addition to the nature journal, you can create a nature collection, such as rocks or flowers or leaves. Uh, One of the things that we're going to be able to do in many places this year is to visit state parks. Social distancing tends to be a natural thing that we're doing when we're in the outdoors. Uh, there is a program, it's Every Kid Outdoors. And with that, if your child is in fourth grade, you can get a free family pass to national park and historic sites all over the country. Go to everykidoutdoors.gov and you'll be able to sign up for your free pass there. Again, it's good for the entire family for a whole year. So if your child is in fourth grade right now, be sure to sign up for that before the end of the school year. So in addition to nature hikes and journaling, a phenology wheel can be an excellent addition to nature study for homeschoolers and parents alike. It's a convenient way to record and remember and digest those observations at a glance. And these are great for studying and observing natural events and cycles, um, such as, phases of the moons, seasons, really anything that you can think of. To make one, all you need is a compass, protractor, pencil, ruler, and of course, paper. Or you can use a printable. We've got a downloadable printable as well as in-depth instructions and ideas for using the phenology wheel on our blog. And there is a link to that blog in the chat if you are watching the replay afterwards. That link is down in the comments. Okay, so you're going to start off by making a large circle on the center of your paper. You can really do it the full size of whatever size paper that you're using. Once you've done that, you're going to make a smaller circle within that, about a quarter to a half inch smaller than your first circle. The size of that, the younger your child, the larger space that you want to make that um, between your first and second circle to allow them to write their labels. Then you're going to make a small circle in the very middle of your large circle. Generally, a couple of inches across in diameter is good for that. Um, and then after that, you'll divide those two outer circles into 12 sections. And then you're going to label that around the outside ring. You'll label your seasons. You can color code these also. And this can be into months, by the way, or if you're doing an observation over the course of summer, you can divide those 12 sections into the 12 weeks of summer and use that for observations over that. Leave the inner ring blank for now. You can make a copy of this at that point before you're going to label. Then you can decide if you're going to use this for making weather observations or making observations of cloud formations, temperatures, again, cycle of the moon, um, animal life that you're observing in your yard, really anything that you want to focus on, observe, and discuss with your child. And then these are neat to look back on after time has passed. It makes a nice keepsake for your child. Okay, moving on to that next area of summer exploration, and that is to explore your roots. Um, it's really important for your child to develop a sense of their place in the world, and in order to figure out how they're going to relate to it and how they fit into it. So the first part of that could be to explore that great story that's in Montessori. Looking at the universe first off, and that's the big overall picture, and then breaking that down into our solar system, and then getting smaller into our planet, and then their continent, their country, their state, and really diving into that. And what's nice about this is that these can be easily adapted for whatever age your child is and the level of information that they're starting out with. Another way to explore your roots is exploring your family tree. Whether you're doing this with a toddler and you're going to look at your immediate family tree, grandparents, parents, siblings, cousins, or you've got an older student and you're going to explore, immigration records and trying to research family tree records from overseas and seeing how far back you can go. Um, so getting to know your family tree better. And then diving into the history of your town, your state, your country, or civilization in general. Kids love the stories of history. And when you do that, before we started, we were chatting about history camp and archaeology camp, hands-on historical activities and mapping, uh, living history books. All of these make history come alive for your child. And of course, when we talk about imaginative play later on, history is one of those great areas that kids love, getting into imaginative play, dressing up for a period and acting out events of history. So remember history when you're doing your imaginative play. Another area to review for summer is to review basic skills. Whether you're reviewing letter sounds or names with movable alphabet, tracing trees, and modeling dough, or practicing math facts, or even reviewing French names for colors and numbers, keep in mind that in addition to storing the information in more places in the brain, multisensory activities keep learning and practicing skills fun. Keep the fun in summer. Okay, summer is the perfect time to take your 100 something Schiller learning songs outside to dance to favorite tunes. So get out there, dance under the sky. Remember, music is particularly effective for getting kids to remember information, and it stores it in places in the brain that even other auditory activities don't go. Music is very unique in the way that it interacts with the brain. And, I've mentioned this in other presentations that you can see this in a unique way with dementia patients because music can actually get them to remember things that would otherwise be lost, events and even people. So it's a great way of reviewing concepts. Pull out those CDs or your music downloads from your customer downloads. Did you know that hopscotch can be used for things like practicing multiplication facts or reviewing any other information? Um, Now, for multiplication hopscotch, you can put multiples into the blocks and call out an equation for one of those multiples. For example, if we're reviewing fives, I could call out um, 5 times 5, and the child gives the answer to the equation, 5 times 5 is or equals 25, and hops through the blocks to that answer. This hits on visual, auditory, and kinesthetic modalities. Reviewing, and then with math facts, you can switch it then so that you write the equation into the boxes and then go ahead and call out the answer to those. This can also be used for reviewing letter sounds. In that instance, you put the letters into the blocks and call out the sounds or a word that starts with that sound. Scientific terms need to be reviewed, or parts of speech or other definitions. Put the name of the term in the blocks and call out the definition. Hopscotch can be a lot of fun, and with this is also going to get you outside into the outdoors. Uh, if you have a volleyball or badminton set, this is something that can be done as an alternative or twist on the Schiller learning activities that use the foam ball indoors. Of course, you can use that ball outside, but you can also do those same activities while you're playing volleyball or badminton. You have that same multisensory combination, the visual, tactile, auditory, and kinesthetic. So it's hitting all 4 of those. So an example of an activity for that is, I'm going to start with a number and we'll add 20 to it each time we hit the ball. So you could call 16, serve the ball, and the next person is going to call 36 when they're hitting in the ball. Then the next person, 56, and so on. So this works for practicing math facts for any operation. If you need more inspiration for activities that you can use this for, just use your manipulative index to find activities that use the foam ball. You will be amazed at what you can do while playing a physical activity, getting those endorphins firing, the synapses firing in new ways, and getting in shape all at the same time. And the grammar symbols, those are another thing that, going back to that hopscotch, reviewing the grammar symbols, that's another thing that you could do in hopscotch. Put the grammar symbols in and then call out the part of speech that they are. Okay. Tip when reviewing basic skills, vary the locations of activities. This can improve both engagement of your child as well as the retention of the material. So take the learning outside at different times of day, do it in different places. It's going to help to, first off, engage your child with nature again, and doing that in different ways. Art and imaginative play. Just like all of these activities, these areas of study, this is good for all ages, easily adapted. Um, and you want to be sure to both include planned art and imaginative play projects, as well as plan for unplanned blocks of time. Give your child the mental white space to get creative and come up with their own ideas. So you don't want to schedule out, especially in this area, um, all of your child's activities for the summer. But a couple of planned activities that you can include, and instructions for all of these are in our summer learning pack. There is a link for that in the chat box. If you are watching this after the fact, the link for the summer activity pack is also down below in the comments. Okay, so a dried flower decor frame. This is a fun project. First off, it's going to get your child out into nature. It's something that they're going to do over a period of time. It's a planned activity, but you can also have some unplanned open activities that you use with these materials. So first off, you're going to go out on a nature walk and pick some flowers, plants, leaves, and you want to get a couple of pieces of simple copy paper and your largest, heaviest books that you can find. You'll carefully place the items between those two pieces of paper and then place the heavy books on them. Important that you want to be sure that to start off with, the flowers or leaves, whatever you're collecting, is as dry as possible. So you want to collect those after the dew has dried. Do note also that this needs to be done in either your own yard or a place that you have actually gotten permission to collect plants and flowers. In a public space like a national park, you don't want to be picking things. You can collect things that are already on the ground, but you don't want to actually pick anything in a space that is not your own. So either do this in your own yard or get permission for it. So collect when the dew has dried, place those between the two sheets of white copy paper, and then you're going to wait at least about a month for those collections to dry. Then using tweezers, this is a great fine motor skill activity for kids, is to, if you're going to be doing a picture frame, you can use any old wood picture frame that you have or an inexpensive frame from the dollar store. And then you're going to use some simple white school glue and dip the dried materials into the glue and then place them wherever you want on either the picture frame, and then that frame would be great to put a picture of one of your summer camp activities that you've done with your child. And what a great keepsake to have to remember the fun that you had together this summer. Uh, you can also use these on scrapbooking pages or for decorating whatever your child can imagine using them. So, you can do a lot of collecting over the summer so that you have a good supply of these so that you have enough materials for both planned um, as well as whichever projects your child can imagine. And we would love to see pictures of your finished projects. So if you would like to tag Schiller Learning in on Instagram or Facebook, Pinterest, Twitter, any of those places, we would love to see the projects that your kids are doing over the summer. This is another really fun activity. What kids um, don't love playing with water, especially water balloons. So you can do your traditional water balloon activities, and pouring, that's another activity that's nice to do outside in the summertime. If you're practicing um, measurement equivalents, get your measuring spoons, measuring cups, quart, gallon containers, take them outside and let your child do all that pouring. Water balloons. Now with this, you're going to do an art project with water balloons. How fun is that? So you'll want some tempera paints, something that is washable, and take a medicine dropper, add paint to each of the balloons before filling them with water. So add that drop of paint, fill them with water, tie them off. And you might want to match the color of the paint to the color of the water balloon. That isn't necessary. You could also just have a surprise random color. And then either spread um, some heavy craft paper or a fabric sheet outside on the driveway. Works really well for this because it's going to help the water balloons break, or the lawn, either one of those. But you want either a large thick paper or a fabric sheet that you won't be crushed in the event that the paint does not fully wash out. Um, Alternatively, you could, allow your child, if you have a sheet or large piece of fabric that you don't need to wash it out, put your child in their bathing suit and use paint that does not wash out, and then you have a permanent art project. Then your child just throws those balloons at the sheet or paper and busts them in whatever pattern, design, or randomness they desire. This is going to be a lot of fun. Then once the sheet dries, they can use this as maybe a backdrop for some of their imaginative play that they're going to do. or as a backdrop for a puppet show that they put on. Um, they can use it as um, a cover for if they're going to be building a fort, and imagine that it's the outdoor sky or a starry night. So with that sheet, you're going to be able to do a lot with it, and it's just a lot of fun. Oh, and Emily has an excellent idea, and that is that you could also use pillowcases and fabric paint for a permanent project. And then they have a decorative pillow. Yeah, so it really is, I agree, Emily. This is an exciting idea, and there are just so many possibilities that you can do with this. And that is one of the many activities that is in the summer activity pack. Again, the link for that is in the chat or in the comments below of the replay. So be sure to download that. That is chock full of activities to help keep your child engaged and excited all summer long. I'm reading the next slide as I'm saying that. Okay, so learn a new skill. Summer is the perfect time to experiment with learning new skills. And with this, your child's interests are the perfect guide to helping you select which new terrain you would like to conquer. You know, maybe the new skill this summer will be learning to use that phonology wheel that we looked at earlier, or maybe it will be basket weaving. So some things to consider as you are selecting that new skill is, what does your child collect? Maybe they can learn to make what they're collecting. Or, what are your child's favorite books? Is there an activity that they've read about in a book that they can learn to do, or a recipe that, a food that their favorite character enjoys? They can learn how to make that. What period of history engages your child's interest? Maybe they can learn a game from that period of history. There's so many different avenues for finding and selecting a skill that is just going to light up your child's interest and have them interested and engaged. Okay, some tips for structuring your summer activities. There's a number of ways you could structure your summer learning. One would be to focus on one of those 5 areas for each weekday. For example, Monday we'll dive into nature. Tuesday we'll review basic skills. Wednesday we'll explore our roots. Thursday we'll learn a new skill, and then Friday we'll explore art or imaginative play. Consider using the Montessori 3-hour work period to allow your child to really focus on what they're doing and not be distracted by moving on to another activity before they've exhausted their focus and concentration on the activity at hand. That does not mean they have to spend 3 hours on one activity or one area, just that you've blocked out the 3 hours for their exploration on your schedule. Alternatively, you could focus on just one of those 5 areas of engagement, or whatever other topics you choose, for an entire week. Um, So for example, you could do, 1 week where you're researching your family tree, and then the next week you are uh, maybe exploring ancient Egypt, and then the following week exploring basic skills. And you could plan that out loosely for all of the weeks that you're doing summer break. Okay. You could also have, maybe you don't want to do structured or themed activities every day of the week, and you'd rather have where just one day a week you're doing summer camp activities. And so you're going to one day a week touch on all 5 of those areas. Whichever mode that you choose, remember to follow the child. Observe your child, see what areas they're interested in, and you know, utilize that interest-based learning to advance them in their development, review basic skills, and create keepsakes and memories that will last a lifetime. Uh, is it effective to at all to touch on all 5 each day, every day, or is that too much? Great question. Um, it depends on your child. You may find that in the summertime, um, you might want to do a more relaxed day, and that to try to touch on all 5 of those every day might wear you out. um, you can absolutely do that and give structure, but it's good to make sure that you're scheduling that white space in for your child, but also for yourself, and just have time. You can call it, I've seen it called boredom time. Schedule time for your child to be bored. And that is that they don't have a structured activity where you're spoon feeding them. This is what we're going to do next. And so it's giving that time for them to think about what they want to do, to think about nothing, to watch the clouds and think about what shapes they may be. You could do the all 5, but it is likely to burn you out. um, okay, so if you give strategic planning to your summer activities, include some of these areas of learning that we looked at, or other themes that you'd like to include, by the time the sun sets on your summer, your child will have a head start on next school year and will have created lifelong memories of their year of homeschool summer camp. It looks like we have covered all the questions that came through the chat. So this wraps up this edition of Tuesdays at 2. You can always contact us, email at support at or blog at schillerlearning.com, or message us on Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, Twitter. Give us a call at that toll-free number. Did anyone have any questions that we didn't get to during the presentation, or new questions on summer activities, or would you like to share, what your goals are for your child for the summer? Okay, and Jessica, did you want to ask on
I
mic?
think I unmuted myself.
Okay, super. Hi, Jessica.
Hi. So I just wanted to say something that you had said earlier about letting the child choose and kind of following them. I just want to encourage everybody listening that really works so beneficial because when I use what I think on, we struggle and stuff doesn't go very smoothly. But when I step back and see, okay, what are you interested in? We can spend on those things, and we've learned so much more than if I'm forcing it. So I
Absolutely.
just wanted to encourage you with that.
Yeah, thank you, Jessica. That is so
Yes.
true. And then an additional benefit to that is when you're following the child's interest, at first glance, sometimes parents balk at the idea of that 3-hour work period. But if you're following the child and doing something that they're interested in, they will have no trouble being focused and concentrated for extended periods of time. And before you know it, that 3 hours disappears like magic. And in the process, you have actually helped to develop and increase their focus and concentration skills. So there's a lot of layers of benefit to that approach. Did
Exactly,
any,
that's so true. And sometimes I feel like it's hard for me because I'm like, oh, and now we're getting dirty or we're doing things we weren't supposed to do or whatever. But there's so much learning and digging in the dirt and finding worms and talking about them versus reading them in a book too. So
yes, and digging in the dirt, that is one of those summertime activities that kids can get very engaged in, and a lot of time can go by digging in the dirt. You can look at insects, you can make mud pies. There is, by the way, a mud activity in the summer uh, learning activity pack, so be sure to check that out. Uh, that also gets you into gardening. Another benefit, by the way, to making sure that you're getting outside every day is that vitamin D, which especially now, research is showing that a vitamin D deficiency makes you much more susceptible to COVID-19. So getting out every day is also going to help you be healthier in that aspect, in addition to all the other ways that it does. Does anyone have any goals in particular for their kids this summer? Uh, my goal is actually to get my kids outside more. So that's definitely something that we're going to focus on every day. Okay, so it looks, yes, outside, but the dirty. I have to say, shout can be your best friend. My kids um, have had mud fights and just ended up like mud head to toe, every inch of their skin and all over their clothing. So that definitely is a goal to have for parents, is to be able to tolerate that, and then to have really good um, laundry products so that you, or have a set of clothes that are reserved for, okay, we can paint in these, we can do work with clay and mud and whatever, uh, and we're not going to be upset that these clothes are forever stained. Oh, so that um, something that Emily has added to their week, which was inspired by Schiller Learning, and that is Montessori Mud Day. That is super. Where you allow mud play. That is great. I love alliteration. So that is something that we incorporate into our schedule, whether it's schooling or meal planning. So I really like the Montessori Mud Day. So thank you for that idea, Emily. That is awesome. Did anyone else want to share anything or have any other questions before we break? Okay, so it looks like Montessori Mud Monday may be becoming a thing for a number of us in here. Awesome. So I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thanks for joining me, and I hope you will catch us next week also. Enjoy your day and have a great summer.